The studio lights glowed brightly as Carrie Underwood walked onto the stage, greeted by Jenna and her co-hosts with enthusiastic applause. Carrie, dressed in a sleek black jumpsuit and sparkling heels, flashed a smile and waved to the audience. "Carrie, it's so good to have you back," Jenna said warmly, leaning forward. "Thank you," Carrie replied graciously, her southern charm shining through. "It's always fun to be here." The opening minutes felt lighthearted, filled with laughter as they discussed her latest tour and her children. But then Jenna shifted to a question about recent criticisms Carrie had faced online regarding her outspoken views on parenting and fitness. Carrie's smile tightened. "You know, people have opinions, but I'm raising my kids the best way I know how. I don't owe explanations for every choice I make." The audience gave polite applause, but the energy subtly shifted. The atmosphere inside the studio shifted, almost imperceptibly as Jenna leaned forward, her hands folded neatly on the desk. The earlier smiles and easy banter about Carrie's tour buses, her favorite home-cooked meals, and the stories about her little boys had softened the room, but now Jenna's tone carried a new weight. It was careful, deliberate, as if she knew the next topic might land like a stone in still water. "Some fans feel you've become less relatable since moving to a more private lifestyle," Jenna began, her words measured but still direct. "How do you respond to that?" Carrie, who had been laughing only minutes before, adjusted her posture, sitting taller in her chair. She didn't flinch, but her expression grew sharper, her jaw tightening ever so slightly. Her gaze, once directed warmly toward the audience, now fixed squarely on Jenna. "I'm not here to live up to people's expectations of what relatable looks like," she said evenly, her voice calm but laced with conviction. "I sing, I tour, I'm a mom. That's real enough." Her answer drew a smattering of applause from the audience, though it was quieter than before, filled less with enthusiasm and more with cautious respect. The applause faded quickly, leaving behind an almost tangible silence. One of the co-hosts chuckled lightly, trying to break the tension with a joking remark about how no parent could ever be relatable while balancing kids and stadium tours. The audience laughed politely, but Carrie's expression didn't soften. She remained poised, her hands resting lightly on her lap, her face a mix of irritation and restraint. Jenna, perhaps sensing that the window to move on was closing, pressed forward. She shuffled her note cards before landing on another question. "Carrie, you've also spoken in the past about body image and pressures on women in the music industry. Some critics feel..." Carrie exhaled sharply, cutting in before Jenna could finish. Her eyes flashed. "I think sometimes interviews like this create the very pressure we claim to be against," she said. "Why do we keep tearing each other down?" Her words rang out across the studio, the force of them slicing through the polite TV atmosphere. The audience shifted in their seats, whispering softly, caught between supporting Carrie's candor and feeling the awkward tension building on stage. In that moment, the interview no longer felt like light entertainment. It felt raw, almost confrontational, and Carrie had made it clear she wasn't backing down. The air in the studio had grown thick with tension, almost electric as Carrie's words hung in the room. Jenna attempted to ease the strain with a soft, conciliatory tone, leaning slightly forward and opening her palms in a gesture of peace. "Carrie, I didn't mean it that way," she began, her voice gentle, trying to regain the warmth of the earlier conversation. But Carrie, sitting upright and unyielding, cut her off before Jenna could continue. "No, I get it," she said, her voice calm but sharp enough to demand attention. "But there's a difference between asking questions and pushing someone into a corner. This doesn't feel like a conversation anymore." A murmur rippled through the audience, some leaning forward in curiosity, others shifting uncomfortably in their seats. The co-hosts exchanged uneasy glances, realizing the interview had veered into a territory they hadn't fully anticipated. The bright studio lights glimmered off Carrie's hair, highlighting her composed yet resolute expression. Even her posture, shoulders squared, chin slightly lifted, exuded determination, as though she were silently daring anyone to challenge her further. Jenna's hands tightened slightly on her note cards. She shuffled them nervously, trying to find the next topic to redirect the momentum, but each card seemed insignificant against the intensity Carrie had just projected. One of the co-hosts, sensing the urgency to salvage the show's flow, suggested cautiously, "Maybe we should move on to the tour." Carrie shook her head, her dark eyes unwavering. "No, I think we're done here," she said firmly, her voice carrying a weight that resonated throughout the studio. There was no room for negotiation in that statement. The calm firmness conveyed that she had reached the limit of her patience. The audience's collective breath seemed to pause, as if everyone in the room recognized the gravity of the moment. The producers behind the cameras exchanged hurried whispers, signaling frantically to someone off stage, while the co-hosts tried unsuccessfully to reclaim the energy of the interview. Jenna's smile had vanished, replaced by a strained expression that revealed her surprise and discomfort. The polished rhythm of a morning talk show had fractured, replaced by a raw, unfiltered confrontation that no one had expected to witness live. For a fleeting moment, silence ruled the studio. Carrie's presence alone dominated the space, her composure contrasting sharply with the frazzled energy around her. It was clear that the interview had become more than a Q&A. It was a boundary being firmly drawn, a statement made without shouting, yet impossible to ignore. Carrie rose from her chair with deliberate calm, the soft swish of her jumpsuit following her movement. She smoothed the fabric along her sides, her fingers lingering on the sharp lines of the tailored outfit that had made her entrance so striking. The studio audience, still buzzing from the earlier tension, collectively held their breath. Some leaned forward, eyes wide, while others exchanged quick whispers, sensing that the interview had reached a point of no return. She adjusted the microphone clipped to her collar, her movements methodical and precise, a visual signal that she was prepared to take control of the situation. "I came here to talk about music, not to be picked apart," she said, her voice calm yet carrying a weight that seemed to resonate through the entire studio. Her eyes, unwavering, met Jenna's directly across the desk. There was no anger, only a firm resolve that radiated authority and self-assurance. Jenna instinctively reached out, a tentative gesture meant to bridge the widening gap, but Carrie did not sit back down. She gave the audience a small, polite nod, a gesture acknowledging them, yet also signaling that the matter at hand was between her and the co-hosts. Her heels clicked against the polished floor as she took deliberate steps toward the exit, the sound punctuating the silence in the studio with a rhythm that was both decisive and final. The production crew scrambled behind the cameras, whispering instructions into headsets and gesturing frantically to the offstage team. The usual choreography of a live show, the smooth transitions, rehearsed cues, and well-timed laughs had been completely disrupted. Every camera in the room pivoted instinctively to capture Carrie's exit, the focus entirely on her as she made her way past the shocked co-hosts. "Well, wait, we'll be right back," Jenna said finally, her smile forced, her tone strained, attempting to regain some semblance of normalcy. But the audience, a mix of fans and curious onlookers, remained buzzing. The murmurs grew louder, some applauding in support, others simply processing the unexpected intensity they had just witnessed. In that moment, the walk-off was not merely a physical act. It became a statement. Carrie's composure and conviction dominated the studio long after she had left the frame, leaving an indelible mark on the show's history. It was a rare, unfiltered instance of a celebrity asserting boundaries on live television, a moment that would be replayed, discussed, and remembered by viewers and industry insiders alike.